Well, hello. So I should do a proper little intro thing. Hello, everyone. I'm Elle Stokes. I'm a social media ambassador, and this is Conor Nolan. Conor, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh gosh. Hello, my name is I'm Conor Nolan. I'm an actor and an agent for Red Talent Management. I'm also a National Youth Theatre alum, I guess. Do you call it alum or
Yeah,
alumni?
alumni. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
just alumni. Yeah, I'm an alum, whatever. But yeah, I
Hello.
am an alum for NYT.
So, can you tell me a little bit about before you did NYT? Sort of where were you at, and like how did you hear about it?
Sure. So I'm trying to think. I don't think I actually auditioned for NYT until I would have been. I was 20. I was 22 when
Mm.
I auditioned for it, because I did youth theatre from when I was about 13 through to when I was 18. I'm from Coventry originally, and I did youth theatre with a great company called Ego Performance Company up until I was about 18. And then I went from my A levels, I then went straight into university at the Arts University Bournemouth, and then
Woo!
finished up there. Woo, woo, finished up there, and then it was one of those where I kind of had a year then of like working like a sort of norm. I worked at Warwick Castle for a year, and I
Oh
worked in
yeah,
like the
that must have been
yeah.
a laugh.
Honestly, it was a job that I did on and off from when I was about 17 through to about 20. Yeah, through to about 22. So when you're scaring people for a living from when you're 17, it's like here we go. But
Yeah, the
so I
real
did that.
training.
100%, dealing with, people fainting in front of you, and I'm like, "Ah," so it's great preparation. So I did that, and then so I worked there full time for a year after I graduated, and then in that year, I had different auditions come through as an actor, like for theatre and for adverts, a couple TV things, and then my friend actually sent me a message that I'd gone to uni with, and he was like, "I'm thinking about uh, applying for NYT because they've got the rep company," and I was like, "That'd be fun." I mean, because I always thought I was too old. I always thought the cut-off age was sort of maybe 21, but then
Yeah.
at the time when I went, it was 25, 26. So I thought, "Oh, do you know what?" And it was about how much was it? It was about 40 quid, 45 quid to audition. And
Mm.
I was like, "Do you know what? Like, it's a guaranteed audition, and if nothing else, like, it's practice." And the only place that they had available to audition at that time was in Liverpool. So I was like, "Do you know what? I'll just make a day of it, and I'll
A
go
bit
up
of
to
a trip.
Liverpool." Yeah, absolutely. I'll do like a little road trip, and I'll go up to, went up on my own. I'll go to Liverpool for the day, and I'll stay over the night before. And like, we auditioned at the Everyman as well, where if people know the Everyman in Liverpool, it's one of the best theatres in the country, I think, and they've got, and even like a rep company within there where they'll only, take on people from Liverpool, and like the quality of the shows they do is so good. So I was just there like, get to go to the Everyman. This is great. So I auditioned there, and I did my piece and all that sort of stuff. And then it was when I went to see a friend's show, and then I got the email just before saying that, yeah, you're in. And I was like, no way, that's so cool. So I
Lovely.
did I know. So I would have been 22 when I went down to Bruford for I did the Epic Stages course.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, and it was great. It was really cool.
Do you remember what you auditioned with? What your
Mm,
audition piece was?
I do. It was from Equus. It was from
Oh yeah.
Peter. Yeah, it's from Peter Schaffer's Equus. Because do you know it's the same speech that I used to audition for Bournemouth with. So
Oh, a winning speech then, really.
honestly, I had that. Do you know what? It's so funny because I had that in the back pocket from. So how old I would have been? What, 18 or 17, 18 when I auditioned for Bournemouth, did the Equus speech, and then when I was 20, I still had it like 4 years later. I was like, I still look kind of youngish, right? I can still pull this off. Okay, cool. I was like, can't be bothered learning another thing, like nah. So I did that as my speech, and then it's so funny because then when rep company auditions came around the following year, I was like, do you know what? Hold on, let's just do that again.
Let's bring that one again.
Honestly, so
Worked
so
out the first
three
time.
literally, and then for rep company, and then I think they came back and they were like, "Do you know what? Thanks, but not this time." So I was like, "Okay, that speech is done now. Like I'm 23, like can't do that anymore." But no, yeah, I can't remember. I'm trying to think of how it's when he's talking about when he was younger. I think in the first ever interaction, he had with a horse. If you're a young actor and you've not read any of Peter Shaffer's plays, not just Equus, but also something like Amadeus as
Yeah.
well. I think he wrote Amadeus. Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, he did,
Uh,
yeah.
he's so good at writing. It's so weird with his plays because sometimes they literally just boil down to like they're sort of two-handers, really.
Mm,
You know, you like if you think of Equus, it's effectively just it's Alan Strang and Dysart. You know, if it's Amadeus, it's Salieri and Mozart. You know, it's effect. There's a lot of supporting characters, but really, it all kind of just boils down to two main kind of protagonist and antagonist, really, and you almost decide which one is which.
yeah.
You know, which I think
And
is
that's
really
always going to
interesting.
bring out great monologues as well.
Oh, man, honestly, I always think that with writers, it's like, you get the books, like contemporary monologues for
Mm,
women or contemporary monologues for men. I always think that afterwards, like if a writer's finished writing something, they'll look at that and go in, that's going to go into a monologue book, isn't it? Oh
yeah.
man.
So you've auditioned and you've got in. Absolutely
Mhm.
brilliant. So can you talk to me a little bit about your experience sort of doing the intake course, the epic
Yeah,
stages?
sure. So I think it was weird because I came to it from the perspective of like everyone in my course was 18,
Mm,
between 18 and 26, and there was a good variety of people in there. There were some people that had like no sort of like formal training, that had maybe done bits and bobs at home and then came to it. Then there were other people like myself who had done the 3 years and then were there as like the sort of like the last bit of training we were probably going to do. And then there were some people that were a bit older that were in their kind of early to mid 20s that just thought, you know what, I'm just going to give this a go,
mm,
and we'll see what happens. So it was a really good mix of kind of training aspects, but also kind of, I mean, they were from all over the country. I think there was one girl that I was in the course with who'd come down from Scotland, and
mm,
there were some that had come down from Newcastle, some that were from kind of inner city London. So it was a really good mix of, personalities and life experience and everything that kind of came in together. And then my course leader was a guy called Owen Horsley, who was this brilliant Scottish director who's now one of the associate directors at the Royal Shakespeare Company. And I'm
mm.
just there like, and it's like every now and then, because I live in the sort of Midlands and I'm close by to Stratford, so every now and then I'll go and see something. I'll see his like name on the poster, and
Yeah.
pretty
I
sure
knew
I've been.
you.
Oh yeah, it's like we've seen things, man. It's like how it works at my course is that we did uh it was very kind of Brecht
Mm,
inspired, and so I think we ended up doing a piece that it was very kind of political, and there was movement involved, and there was song involved, and it was somebody who was effectively like a politician who'd risen up the ranks to now effectively become prime minister. And this, what year would this have been? Would this have been 2016? So this was actually the year of Brexit and everything that kind of came along with that. And even as kind of young people, we were kind of aware of like it was at the height of that kind of political time in the UK where you had, you were one or the other. You were either
yeah.
leave or remain, and it was just that thing of trying to, in 10 minutes, trying to
Sum it all
capture
up.
that. You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to capture that kind of not that time period, but almost that kind of feeling, and that kind of being expressed, from young people, and also not taking it that seriously as well, taking it
Mm,
seriously, but also that kind of, but making light of it, as it was happening, and being farcical with it. Like there was a bit, I think, where me and my partner in the piece, James, um, he almost was. I was almost like this kind of like Farage-esque, like political speaker, and I had this speech written that was everything, to do with like, this England, this green England. Here's everything we love about it. The Beatles and tundra and like everything that comes with it. And then I had my mate James, who was kind of like mouthing it behind me,
mm,
almost like the guy behind the camera, like my whip almost, who was like kind of coaxing me into it. And it was just this massive self-aggrandizing thing. And we all kind of mucked in doing that, but also learning these brilliant exercises. That Owen did this fantastic little kind of, because his background is Shakespeare and he knows so much about it. He did this fantastic exercise that I still use sometimes whenever I work with graduates or students and stuff, when I'm agenting and doing workshops and stuff. He gave us I think it was Once More Into the Breach from Henry V, and he gave it to somebody, and he actually put them up on a box so they were raised above everybody
Mm.
else. And he said, and even if you have no concept of Shakespeare at all, even if you've not done it before, start reading this speech. And he said to the rest of us that were kind of on the floor, when you lose interest, sit down. And it was this thing of like, and when he or she picks up your interest back again, then stand up. And it was this brutal exercise. Like these poor guys that have never done Shakespeare before, they're trying to, get the sense of it and read it out loud, but also losing people's attention when they're sat down. And it's like, oh, but by the end of it, you're literally just there, and it's that rousing thing of and you're trying to, keep people's attention. If you look at how that speech was done in like The Hollow Crown, that brilliant BBC series, like Tom Hiddleston does it, and he says it to a very small group of people, compared to when like you see Kenneth Branagh or Laurence Olivier do it in their films, and there are thousands of people like in these fields, with like massive music playing in the background, and it's like, so sometimes it can be very introspective, and sometimes it can be this huge grandizing thing, but ultimately you want to make sure that everyone is still stood up by the end, and you've not got somebody sitting down. All these little things that I hadn't sort of done before, or things that maybe we hadn't looked at a huge amount in university. How doing that course was a great way of, again, just building my network in terms of people that I knew kind of across the country, but also just these little nuggets of things where you're like, and I to the point where I'm still using it this day, and that was 8 years ago.
I'd be interested is because obviously like you'd done the 3 years, and obviously like when we went to Arts University Bournemouth would have been different, but you'd gone to AUB and done the degree before National Youth Theatre, and when I
Mhm.
went to National Youth Theatre and then did AUB. And I think what struck me about my training with National Youth Theatre is how much it was instilled that it was an ensemble. It was like
Mm.
really, and then going to AUB, it felt like I was sort of really up for the ensemble stuff, and then I had sort of more time to work on individual stuff because I wasn't so if that makes sense. So I wanted to sort of how was your experience? That was it a sort of ensemble sort of vibe, or was that like part of the course and half of it? Because obviously you say that you've got like this sort of two-hander scene where sort of you had a monologue and someone was behind you. So did you find it more of a sort of ensemble training? And how was your experience of having that training and then getting a bit more?
Yeah, it's interesting it's interesting you say about Bournemouth, because I think as well, being from doing youth theatre from when I was sort of 13 to 18, the great thing about Ego that are based in Coventry and are still going now is that everything is about the ensemble.
Mm,
From when you're 13 to 18, and we were lucky enough, to when I was in my sort of 15, 16, we actually took these shows and we toured them across the UK, and we actually went to youth theatre festivals up in the north and down south. And like we all mucked in,
mm,
we all of us, put the sets up and carried the weights to the stage, and all of us were involved in it together. So the ensemble thing of being in the show is one thing, but it's also being the company and actually, you know, being down the business end and
yeah.
actually like doing all the practical, like literally like putting the stage up, making sure that everyone's got their costume ready, all the kind of backstage stuff, as well as being the ensemble actually within the play. So when I went to Bournemouth, there was still, I already had that kind of sense of we're all in this together sense. But it was one of these things in Bournemouth where I was kind of, I think in my second year and my third year as well, I think there was a sense of, I don't know if this happened in your year, but like there were moments where I did feel a little bit kind of pushed to the front a bit. There's a couple like not exercise, but like modules or like things that I'd done that were seen to be quite good. And so then there was almost that thing of, oh well, if Connor's in this, like, it's going to be good kind
Mm.
of thing. So it was that kind of, there was a couple moments where I did, that was a sort of a feeling of kind of expectation a little bit,
Sort of that you
and
were more
then
reliable and
I think
yeah.
possibly, yeah. And then in my third year as well, I actually took the first month off because I got offered a professional gig.
Oh,
So
blimey.
Yeah, so like during the summer of 20, this when would this have been 2015? Yeah, I got offered a professional play in my hometown, and I went to Bournemouth and I was like, "Can I have this time off, please?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Thank, that's great." So I literally went and I did the professional play, and then uh, I then came back, and then about a few days after I came back, I went straight into rehearsals for one of my first like grad shows, and that's what I loved about my time, even though it was only a month doing that course. That's what I loved about my time at NYT because it was like, you know, I never had moments of like I'm the man, but it was that great intense month-long course to be like, oh no, it is a team.
Yeah.
Like the ensemble is the thing. And I think working in that kind of Brechtian style as well, of it being, and it very kind of Greek chorus-esque as well. I think we were really I think we took a lot of inspiration in our time as well from those plays, like Creon and Antigone, and it being, you've got a couple little parts in there, but ultimately it's the chorus. It is the ensemble work you know, that is the thing. And ultimately, as well, when you do grad shows, like, when I saw you guys in 12th Night, you had, your people that had, like, your violas and your Toby Belches and stuff that had their kind of moments, but ultimately you were all in it as one. All of you are in it together. And I think that's what NYT kind of made sure, like, it kind of reminded me of that. It's
Mm.
like, no, 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 it is, especially for theatre, it is everybody, from, and not just from the actors as well. Like, I've been very privileged to work in a lot of different things like touring TIE productions and touring shows out in the Middle East even, and like, big kind of productions that toured. I was in a show that started off in Birmingham, then we moved into Manchester, and then we moved into London. And we had like purpose-built spaces, for two of them. Or no, for one of them, sorry. That was down in Greenwich. But again, like you get to know the crew.
Mm.
You get to know all of the kind of lighting guys and like the security and everything, and it is like that's the much wider ensemble, but you're still all in it together.
Yeah. It's like it takes a village kind of thing.
100%. It is almost like, you don't want to say family, but if you've done it for a long period of time, like it does get to be like that, definitely.
Mm. So can you talk me through sort of, I don't want to do too big of a jump, but sort of your experience after NYT and that how that has sort of led up to where you are now.
Sure. I think what I loved about my time at NYT and how it's kind of informed what I do now is that it gave me a great grounding, especially with auditioning. So being an NYT ambassador, I was lucky enough to sit on audition days and like be on, the other side of the table for once and watch, these, people coming in who could be anything from 13, 14, like all the way through up to the people in their mid 20s, and now being an agent, um, I meet people, a lot, and I audition people and see their thing. And like, it was great with NYT because it's like you could then talk to the person that you're sat next to who's in that more kind of senior role and go, right, so, did you think about them? What did you're going so much off of instincts with auditions, but also, looking at it kind of practically and all of those sorts of things. So I think that gave me really good jump step into kind of, right, okay, well, when I audition people now, you see them as the actor, of course, but then you also see them as just a person,
Mm.
and it's like, sure, and you factor in, of course, things like, nervousness and factoring in, stumbling over lines and stuff. And it's like with auditioning, and it's such an odd thing. It's not the be all and end all, and sometimes it's like people will come in and you just know within 10, 15 seconds of like, you're great. Like you would fit in so well with what you do as a person. And then it's like, and if you do stumble over your words or if you do forget a couple things, and that's okay, because it's not with any, especially with NYT, they're not looking for the finished product. They're not looking for some, whether you're 13 all the way through to your mid-20s. It's not, we're not looking for people, it's like, "Oh my God, like, you're so good." It's like, no, it's about nurturing,
Mm.
and you've got into, the sort of the people skills element, the how to talk to people. You could be working with someone who's like neurodiverse, so then it gives you an idea of, well, oh, okay, so here's what to factor in if this person has OCD or ADHD, or they're on the autistic spectrum, all these little things. And I think is invaluable life skills, and then including that, with drama games and exercises and all that. So it's like you're learning, fantastic social skills whilst also just having a bit of fun.
How did you get into being an agent?
Oh gosh. So uh long story short, I graduated in 2015, finished NYT in 2016, and then from 16, I was very lucky that I worked fairly consistently as an actor in like lots of different like sort of touring shows, TIE productions, lots of different things. And then pandemic happened and everything stopped for the best part of a year and a half, 2 years. And then so Red Talent Management, who I am an agent for, I was with uh, as an actor from about 2014, and the company director, Robert Wilkinson, is a guy that I've known since birth, pretty much. He's my dad's best mate,
He was the
and
doctor.
and yeah, he's literally like he was there, ready, like here he is. But and then like uh, his wife is like my aunt. His kids are like my brother and sister. Like we're a lovely unit, and it's actually before I even became an agent. It's how I set up the way of us coming actually down to Bournemouth. So the guys that would have been the year above you, I'd written to Catherine, who at that time was the course leader, and I said, look, I came from here. It's so rare that agencies actually come down to Bournemouth and like watch stuff. So I'd love for us to come down and actually meet your third year students and see them audition and let them have a chance of representation. And Catherine was like, that'd be great. So me and Rob went down and we auditioned a fair big chunk of the third year students. And on the train back, he was literally like, "Okay, would you have a look at Spotlight and would you mind doing some submissions for me?" And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Okay." So I did that, and then he looked over it and he was like, "Yeah, that's all good." And I was like, "Great." And then he went on holiday for 2 weeks, and he was like, "Would you mind covering for me in the agency?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "If auditions come through for people, you know, let them know. Uh, do submissions on Spotlight every day. If anything comes up that's like a bit more serious, then give me a text and let me know." And I did that for about 2 weeks, and then by the end of it, he was like, "You could do this. Like you could be an agent." And I was like, "Okay." So I tried it, thinking like, "Oh, this will be a nice little side hustle. I'll have a handful of actors that I'll represent, and like that'll be fun and stuff." Now it's like my full time job. That was like 2 years. That would have been mid 2022, and now we're into 2024, and it is like the youngest person I represent is now 13. The oldest person I represent is now in the sort of early 50s, mid 50s. And it's all across the board in terms of the kind of guys I represent, and it's full on and it's intense, but gosh, it's so fulfilling. And it's like I heard someone talk once, and it's like your 20s is when you should basically just try everything. Like if an opportunity comes your way or you see something and you go, God, I really want to do that, just go for it, and just try and just try everything and just figure out and be open and just figure out what you want to do in your 20s. In your 30s is when you then go, okay, now here's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I've tried everything, I've done all of that. Now here's like, this is my kind of calling now. This is what I want to do. Now I figure out, look, and I love being an actor. I love being in shows and working in companies, and it's fantastic. But being an agent is something that it's like, oh no, I love this. Like I love trying to get people in the door for stuff. I love working with actors, younger ones in particular as well, because I love, like for graduates or for people that think this could never have been for me. There are people that I represent who are, people like yourselves who are graduates, who've done the NYT stuff, who've done a degree course or a master's, and they're trained up to their eyeballs. And I'm like, I can work with this. This is great. Then there are some people who, for one reason or another, have gone, do you know what? I've not had any proper training, but I really like this, and I would, I've always wanted to give it a go, but certain things have just held me back from it. And I'm like, well, let's, come in, let's have a chat, let's see you act. That's my phone going off. Go
Sorry.
for it. Who is this? I don't know. It's like, good to know.
You're a
Season
busy man, you're in demand.
Yes, I know. Season tickets for Coventry City are out. This is good to know.
Woohoo.
Still valuable information, but see, that'll make the edit. But
Yeah, it will.
will it actually? What was I saying? I've lost my train
That's
of
all
thought
right.
now.
So, do you have sort of any advice for people that are sort of thinking about becoming an agent, or how to sort of get into
Sure.
that?
Oh gosh, I think getting into it, I think is tough. I mean, I was very lucky in that Red Talent now this year has been going for 12 years and is a very well established agency within the UK. Uh, we're recognised by the PMA, which is the Personal Managers Association. Like it's almost like having the kind of verified, like the blue tick next to us. We're very well established, and we've got fantastic connections with, Royal Shakespeare Company, with the BBC, with ITV, with Netflix. If you're interested in getting into agenting, see what's around your local area first. See if there are any agents that kind of, are in that area. Have a look at their website, and again, if that's or their social media profile, again, if they look something that you would be interested in, doing stuff for them, even if it's just because we've had people come into us as well that are interns, and they'll spend a week with us, 2 weeks, and we'll say, right, and I've gone to people and they've come on, audition days that I've held at universities. I've gone to them and I've gone, right, here's what my day looks like when I'm submitting for people for work on Spotlight. Now you have a go. All that sort of stuff, and hopefully, they'll come back to you and go, yeah, come in for a week and see if you like it, and if you do, then I may well have an opening for you at some point. If I don't have an opening, oh well, at least you gave it a try. So then you can then write to other people and go, I've had a week,
Yeah.
spending with these guys. Do you know what I mean? So it's like all these little things. But if it's something that you are really interested in getting into, see who's around with you first. And even if you could ask if you can, like we're doing now, like jump on a Zoom call. And so if you've got any questions, you can ask them. Very good.
What would you say to someone who is an actor who is thinking about how to get representation, or possibly going to contact Red about being represented? What sort of
Yeah.
advice would you give, or what sort of like common mistakes do you see?
Um, Common mistakes is an interesting one. I think what I would say to anyone who's interested in representation from Red Talent is, one, have a look at the kind of stuff that we do, because I think, and this goes for people writing to agents, for people writing to casting directors in particular, write to them. I say this to people all the time. It's like, if there's a particular project that you like the look of, write to them, but say that I'd like to be considered for this particular project. I was speaking to a great casting director called Sharon Sorrentino recently, who said, like, I'm more than happy for actors to write to me, but if you just write and go, and it's a very kind of sort of standard email of like, hi, I'm an actor. If you've got anything coming up, I'd love to be considered. It's like, okay, well, it's very broad. Whereas if somebody writes to me and goes, hi, this is me, here's my age, here's where I'm based, here's the experience I've got, I've recently watched these things that you have cast. Here is what, I really like them. Here is what I liked about them. You know, I understand that at some, like later on in the year or in the next few weeks, you are casting this particular project and this particular part. Here is how my skill set fits with what you're looking for, you know, and thanks for reading this, and I would love to be considered. Thanks, bye. And then moving on to the next thing. I think it's the same with writing to agents as well. Actually, write specifically to them. Have a look through our website and find the things that really appeal to you about kind of what we do. And then, we've got agents. We've got two based down in London. We've got Paddy, who's based down in London, and Nate, who actually looks after our musical theatre performers. We've then got Kerry, who's based up in the north, who covers predominantly kind of Manchester and like the north. And then you've got myself, Rob, who's the company director, and Kelsey, who kind of cover the sort of the Midlands, but also, we're not restricted by geography. I've got people that I represent who are from Scotland, who are from Liverpool, who are from down south, who are from France, from all over the place. So I think, and that's it. So, but write to us specifically, what is it that you like about what we do that you could see yourself being represented by us. And be specific, and actually, be personable as well. That's those are the ones that stick out to me, particularly the people that write to me specifically. And there are some people that they'll almost have like a kind of stock email where they'll have like the kind of heading, and then there's the email which is in like a different font, and I'm like, okay, well, this has gone out to not just me but to a lot of other people, and which is fine, which is absolutely fine. And you could still have something on your spotlight profile and within that email where I go, okay, well, that's cool. I'll go back to you and all that sort of stuff, and that's lovely. But it's always nice, when you get something that's specifically written to you, and they've actually, taken the effort to go through our website and look at what we do and me specifically and go, oh, here's what, in your little bio, here's what stuck out to me and all that sort of stuff. And that's when I'm going to be a lot more inclined to go, oh, well, I'll at least, even if, I'm not taking people on at the moment, I'll still go back to you and go, look, thank you so much for this. Not right now, but please do keep in contact because you look fantastic, and I'd love to have a conversation with you. All that sort of stuff. What I say to graduates a lot is like, when you finished your training, it's all well and good, just making the move to London and just seeing what's there. If you have a home base, whether you're from Coventry or Southampton or Cardiff or Newcastle, wherever, see what's in your local area first. Even if it's like a small company, see what's in your local area first and write to those people first and be like, look, I'm recently graduated. Here's my skill set. I understand this is the sort of work that you do. If you can, go and see it as well. Go and actually see their work and then write to them the next day and go, hey, just so you know, I went to see this last night. I loved it. Here's what I liked about it. Here is how my skill set fits in with this kind of work that you do. I understand that later on in the year, you're looking to do this, or if you're not sure about what they're doing later in the year, just say, look, if you have any castings coming up for the future, I would love to be considered. Thanks for reading this and look forward to hearing from you. And then once you've done that, move on to the next one. And do everything within your local area first. And then once you feel like you've done everything there, then spread that net a little bit wider.
If you could go back in time and talk to your little younger self just before you auditioned for NYT, what advice would you give?
Wow, gosh. Learn to drive. It's like, stop putting it off. Just learn to drive. No, yeah. So that is genuinely like a piece of advice I would give to my younger self. Honestly, I would just say, keep doing what you're doing. Be more proactive. If someone comes to you with an opportunity, take them up on it. Like, because I've had it before where somebody's messaged me or emailed me about a particular project, and I've gone, that looks great. Oh, I'll get back to them on that, and then I'll blink, and a month will have gone by. Honestly, and then it's like I've missed the boat, and you go, damn. Oh well, on to the next thing. But it's like, but no, but like that could have been a really good thing, and that could have opened up another door potentially to something, you know. So I would say, you know, if someone comes with you to an opportunity, like just do it, you know, just and you know, if it's something that afterwards you're like, do you know what, actually not meant to be this time, or maybe this isn't for me, you've at least had the conversation.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? So I think it's if somebody comes to you with an opportunity, or if even if there's something, if a show comes into your town and you go, oh, that looks really good, go and see it. You know, and obviously these things aren't, you know, these things cost money, and they might not be, you know, they might not be able to go and see it from a financial point of view. You might not be able to go and see it, but make a note of it. And if you're not able to go and see it, see if, you know, save a bit of money, see if they're going somewhere else that is, you know, close to you, and make a day of it. You know, go down and see it. And then if you really like it, you know, write to them the next day and be like, just so you know, I went to see this the other day and loved it. You know, here's what I loved about it. You know, if you're casting this in future, I would love to be considered because here is how my skill set fits in with the work you do.
mm.
You know, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do
I
it. You
should.
know, and learn to drive, you idiot. Like, you know,
Feels
don't need
directed
to.
at me because I'm still trying to learn to drive.
Well, that's fine. But honestly, Elle, just do it. Just do it honestly. You will regret nothing. You will spend the rest of your life relying on trains.
I like trains.
I look, trains are great. Trains are great. You can go and buy coffee on them. It's great. But if you need to go somewhere short notice and, you
Yeah,
know, Avanti decide, you know what, we're not going to have trains today, then, you know, you can just hop in the 205 and go up there. It's great.
yeah. Well, worst comes to worst, I'll call you up for a lift. I'll say, Connor, I'm in a
Oh,
tight
oh,
situation.
oh no. Oh no. I can't drive.
What?
That's what I'm saying. That's
This
what I'm
doesn't
saying to
even need to be advice for your past self. It's
That's what
just
I mean.
what you had.
That's what I'm saying to my past self. Do it now. That's what I'm saying to 21, 22-year-old me. Just learn to drive. Do it. Honestly, it'll be like that Back to the Future thing. Like I'll just change everything, you know.
Well, it's been absolutely lovely interviewing you today.
Not at all, Elle. Thank you very much for asking.
That's all right. Would you like to say anything, any final remarks, or any social media where people can find you?
Sure. So, like with the agency, we are at Red Talent, all one word. We've got our website as well. That if you just Google Red Talent Management in there, you'll be able to find our website on there as well. But yeah, but to all people out there of, you know, from younger ages to older ages that are looking to do NYT, um, just do it. Honestly, like just have a look into it, and if you think this is the right thing for you, then go for it. Honestly, you know, because if anything else, it's great, you know, audition practice. Even there, you'll meet some brilliant, you know, like-minded people, and it could be the start of a fantastic journey, whether you get into NYT or not. You know, it can just be that kickstarter you need to go, do you know what? I want to do more of this, you know. So just so if you really like the look of it, just do it.